When you hear the word romantic, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably candlelit dinners, roses, Valentine's Day cards, right? Well, what if I told you the original romantics were way more interested in thunderstorms, ancient ruins, and a full-blown emotional rebellion? Let's get into the true, revolutionary heart of British Romanticism. Okay, so first things first, we have to tackle the big question. What did this word, romantic, actually mean to the people who started this whole thing? I can pretty much guarantee you it's not what you think. And this right here is the key. Today, romantic is all about love and affection, but back in the 18th century, it meant something totally different, something more like romance-like. Think of the strange, mythical, and super emotional world of medieval stories. It was all about wild, untamed nature and this powerful, intense feeling we're going to explore called the sublime. Now, to really get a handle on any rebellion, you first have to understand what it was fighting against. So let's take a look at the world before the Romantics showed up. And let me tell you, it was a world of strict rules and cold, hard logic. This was the Age of Reason. The Enlightenment was this incredibly powerful movement that put science, logic, and the human intellect on a pedestal. The whole goal was to organize the world, get rid of superstition, and solve every problem with pure, rational thought. The guiding principle was basically, think, don't feel. And the art from this era? Well, it reflected that perfectly. It was called neoclassicism. Artists and writers looked back to ancient Greece and Rome for inspiration, and they created these works that were all about balance, order, and control. The big keywords were reason, harmony, and restraint, the very things the Romantics were about to tear down. And that sets the stage for a massive turning point. A whole new generation of artists and thinkers looked at this orderly, rational world and just felt like something absolutely essential was missing. The human heart. This was their rebellion of emotion. So what Romanticism did was flip the Enlightenment completely on its head. It celebrated the unique individual, not the orderly masses. It championed the wild power of imagination over cold, hard reason. It dove headfirst into intense emotions, saw nature as this almost divine force, and argued that our inner life, our dreams, our feelings, our memories, was the most important thing of all. And at the absolute center of this whole experience was a concept that is just crucial for understanding the Romantics, an idea they called the sublime. See, the neoclassical world loved the beautiful, things that were pretty, calm, harmonious. But the Romantics? They were obsessed with the sublime. The sublime isn't just beautiful. It's so huge, so powerful, so majestic that it's completely overwhelming, and maybe even a little terrifying. It's that feeling you get standing on the edge of a cliff or watching a massive storm roll in. I mean, this painting is the sublime. Look at that single figure, totally dwarfed by the immense, wild, awe-inspiring power of nature. He's not just looking at a pretty landscape, he's having an experience so powerful it reminds him of his own smallness, but at the same time, it connects him to something infinite. And here's another great example. That raw, untamed power of the waterfall, it's majestic, chaotic, and yeah, a little bit dangerous. It's not just beautiful, it's sublime. This feeling, this delightful terror, was exactly the kind of intense emotional experience the Romantics were chasing. Every great movement has its icons, and the Romantics were no different. But these guys weren't stuffy academics in dusty libraries. They were the cultural rock stars of their day, living lives that were just as passionate and rebellious as their art. Now, while there were tons of Romantic writers, history tends to focus on these big six. You've got the visionary mystic, William Blake, the nature worshipper, William Wordsworth, the supernatural dreamer, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, the scandalous celebrity, Lord Byron, the radical idealist, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and the master of rich detail, John Keats. Let's zoom in on a couple of them. First up, William Blake. This man was a true original, a radical thinker who used his art to condemn slavery, and at the same time, a visionary mystic who claimed he literally talked to angels. He was both an artist and a poet, and he created these incredible illustrated poems that were just completely unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Then you have William Wordsworth, who basically wrote the manifesto for the whole movement. His new definition of poetry was absolutely revolutionary. He said, "Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility." He was arguing that poetry shouldn't be about clever wordplay or ancient myths. It should come from real, powerful, personal feelings. This idea changed everything. And you just cannot talk about romantic rock stars without talking about Lord Byron. He was a genuine celebrity in his own lifetime, famous for his scandalous affairs, his huge debts, and his moody charisma. This quote from one of his lovers, Lady Caroline Lamb, pretty much became his tagline: mad, bad, and dangerous to know. Honestly, Byron's greatest creation was probably himself, and he channeled that persona into a brand new literary character, the Byronic hero. This is that dark, brooding, passionate rebel with a mysterious past who hates society's rules. Sound familiar? We see versions of this character in books and movies all the time, even today. So, why does a 200-year-old literary movement still matter? Well, because whether we realize it or not, we are all children of the Romantics. Their rebellion fundamentally changed how we see the world, and more importantly, how we see ourselves. Just think about it for a second. That modern idea that you should be yourself, that you should express your unique, authentic feelings, that's pure romanticism. That urge to go hiking or just escape to the countryside to clear your head and reconnect, that's romantic. Our whole fascination with troubled, brilliant, tortured artists and the idea that great art comes from great pain, you guessed it, it all traces right back to this movement. Ultimately, this is the big takeaway. Before the Romantics, emotion was often seen as a weakness, a distraction from reason. They came along and argued the exact opposite. They taught us that our inner worlds, our feelings, our imaginations are vast, powerful, and absolutely essential to what makes us human. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought. We live in a world that is more and more driven by data, logic, and algorithms. In this new age of reason, you have to wonder, right? Is a new rebellion of the heart exactly what we need?